Hey folks, how's it going? This is Iron Seagull here, and welcome back to my series where I talk about my ideas for how I'd refresh each and every single expansion pack for The Sims 4. So this week, we're going to be talking all about eco-lifestyle. So this one was a bit divisive, but I actually ended up liking this one a lot more than I thought. However, there's definitely some things that I feel could be improved upon. Not to mention there are still at least a couple of bugs that need to be fixed, though at least this pack is a lot more stable than it was when it first came out. So I think this time around we are going to be focusing a lot more on fixing and improving existing features in the pack rather than suggesting a whole lot of new ones. One thing I would like to suggest though is a compost bin. I loved using that in The Sims 2, and Ravasheen actually made a really cool compost mod for The Sims 4 that I reviewed in another video a while back. With this, you could compost a variety of different items including food, produce, dust, harvestables, leaves, and more. And from that, you could compost to get fertilizer that you can use just from the base game or for cottage living. I also find it really strange that candle making as a skill is just lumped into fabrication, so I would like for candle making to be separated out to have its own skill. Also, while we're at it, add more candle designs, because just looking at the ones that we have with fabrication skill maxed out, most of these are just the same mesh with different colors on them. You can do better than that. Also, I do find it super weird that we don't have likes and dislikes for fabrication, candle making, or even the juice fizzing, so it would be good to have all those. I mean, they don't have to come with the refresh necessarily. They should be part of a free update since there are other preferences from other packs that haven't been acknowledged. And also, as a side note with the juice fizzing, we should be able to serve bottles of juice fizz to our guests, because for some reason we can't do that. Another idea that I have that was partially inspired by Ravasheen's mods is having more ways to generate power and water, because most of the ones we have are very modern, such as the wind turbines and solar panels, so when it comes to settings like Henford on Bagley, it can be a lot more difficult for those to make sense. So I thought, okay, it would be really cool if we were able to maybe get sources of green water from water wells, and maybe for like industrial sources of water we could have water towers, and also maybe we could have weather vanes like in Ravasheen's mod that generate electricity that just go on the roof. Maybe we could also have more old-fashioned windmills to generate green power that could fit more in worlds that don't look super modern. Of course, there is also the subject of cars that would help a lot in this department, but we'll get to those much later in the video. Another thing I would love to see is to have all worlds in the game more affected by the eco-footprint. I'm not expecting the modern development and green neighborhood action plans to be implemented in every single world, because that would mean redesigning each and every neighborhood, and there's just so many worlds in the game now. So I don't really think that's a realistic expectation, but maybe they could have some lighter elements of change with the eco-footprint. For example, what if with an industrial eco-footprint there could still be some trash littering the roads, and also some plastic bags flying around just reminding you of Katy Perry, or even in the water there could be some trash floating down the river. Maybe the water would look a bit more disgusting. Like, I think that would be great, like on top of just like the smog that you can already see when you have an industrial eco-footprint. Maybe for the green eco-footprint, they could just make the world look a bit brighter. Like, I don't want something super bright that makes everything look washed out, but just have a little bit more obvious of a difference between the lighting in the eco-footprints. However, I think there are a few more gameplay benefits and drawbacks that could be applied to the green and industrial footprints. So if you have a green eco-footprint, plants could become better quality more easily, and the floral arrangements from the workbench in seasons can last longer before rotting. And then with industrial, your Sims could get boost to skills that relate to sort of handy things like handiness, fabrication, rocket science, and robotics. But then on the downside, plants will be harder to take care of with all the pollution. And they could definitely die a lot more easily too if you don't pay attention. Also, maybe there could be a social interaction available while your footprint is industrial, where it's just talk about pollution, and then in the middle of the conversation sometimes the Sims cough because of all the smog. I think it would also be interesting if Sims are exposed to too much pollution, then they could get sick for a while. And one thing you might not know about eco-lifestyle is if you have seasons and you have an industrial footprint, then you can get acid rain, and your Sims' hygiene goes down quicker while they're outside in it. But also, yeah, I think that could also be a thing where your Sims could get sick from acid rain if they're exposed to too much of that. I'd also like for the eco footprint meter to be enabled in build mode, but repurposed so that you know how much of a neutral, green, or industrial eco footprint your current lot has, so you don't have to keep going to manage worlds in the map view to know whether that lot has the footprint you want or not. Another thing that I think could be communicated a lot more clearly to the players is exactly how much electricity and water you have left, because normally you have to go onto the phone and then household and the bills and utilities screen, and then you can see how much you have. But even then, it doesn't always seem to be accurate. It can also be sometimes difficult to know why exactly the rates change. Like between that first showing of the bills and utilities screen and the second one, I know one of my Sims used the toilet, but then with the rate of charge, I'm not exactly sure what went on, because I think with power generation, if you have seasons, the wind does affect it if you happen to have wind turbines on your lot. But then what else can affect it, especially if you don't have seasons? While I do think those power and water meters look neat in the bills and utilities panel, they should also have an option to view it outside of the phone, kind of like how they separated the notebook out of the phone before we got cottage living. On top of that, it would also be nice if when you hover over the meters, there's a tooltip that shows you the different sort of factors that affect how you get more or less electricity or water. Speaking of options, let's talk about the neighborhood action plans for a bit, because I know a lot of people get annoyed by them. So I think in the options menu, we should be able to turn off certain neighborhood action plans entirely from ever being voted on, because, I mean, there's ones like sharing is caring and we wear bags where it's like, oh no, they just keep appearing over and over again. And it does not help that there aren't really too many neighborhood action plans in the game to begin with, so with a refresh, they should definitely add a few more, especially if they could even have some integration with other packs. Like, for example, I have a mod by Zero that makes it so that sharing is caring is not about stealing exactly, but giving gifts instead, and it's resulted in some sweet moments. There's also a mod by Zero that converts We Wear bags into pet friendly, where you get influence points by being friendly to pets. And I think it'd be kind of cool to have a version of that, but also have that integrate with cottage living, so if you're kind to farm animals, then that will also give you influence points. On the topic of influence points, actually, I wish they could be used for more. Like, maybe take a page from the Sims 2's book, where you could make other Sims do things for you if you had a lot of points. So maybe you could have Sims flirt, or fight with others, or do their gardening for you, or have them go eat, or sleep, or shower, or even just make them do a goofy dance in front of you. I do have one suggestion for Create a Sim. Overall, I think this is a really top tier pack for Create a Sim, but with this hairstyle that I really like with the feathers in it, I would also like a version without the feathers in it. I've seen custom content creators make some really nice versions of this hair, and I think it'd be really great to have that officially in the game instead of depending on custom content for that. Alright, so now we move on to the free update. So there are some bugs that I think really need to be fixed. So the first one is Everblue Harbor. Yep, I've brought this up in some recent videos. They even let this go on while there was a free trial for this expansion pack. It is just a huge yikes. I can't believe this is taking so long for them to fix. But something that's been a problem since the expansion pack first came out is how when you load up a household that you played as before, their just entire neighborhood eco footprint resets to neutral instantly. It doesn't seem to happen to me every single time for some reason, but it still happens really often, and then I have to cheat it back up, and it's just super annoying. So I really wished it would do that and just remember the eco footprint that it was the last time you were in that neighborhood. They should also do something about the sun rays lagging the game, because I actually have a mod to just make those completely invisible now. And while I haven't seen it in my game recently, I think there are some people who still have the bug where Sims just keep making cakes over and over again if the Foodies Unite Neighborhood Action Plan is enabled. But one big free feature I want to suggest is cars. If there was any pack refresh that they could go well with, it would be Eco Lifestyle. I've already done a whole wishlist video about cars, and I've already kind of talked about them in just several videos over the years about like why I think cars would make a lot of sense in The Sims 4 even without open world. I think they were done really well in The Sims 2, even better than they were in The Sims 3. And then in The Sims 4, with the eco footprint, you could have some cars that are industrial, and some that are green. Maybe if they had something that's kind of like a parody of a Tesla, that could be interesting. I would also love to see certain other vehicle types like Vespas and motorcycles, but I think those are more likely to come in paid DLC, kind of like they did in The Sims 3. It would also be really nice, I think, to have the carpool and the school bus come back, though they're very, very unlikely. But carpooling does help save the environment. So that wraps up my ideas for an eco lifestyle refresh. It did feel weird not suggesting too many entirely new ideas for this one, but I think this expansion pack already has quite a lot going for it. It's just that it needs a lot of tweaking and better communication in some aspects for how exactly certain things work. I also think this pack could be more impressive if there were more positive and negative impacts depending on what footprint you have in your neighborhood, so then it actually affects your everyday gameplay more. But feel free to let me know in the comment section below what you'd like to see added or reworked in Eco Lifestyle. And be sure to subscribe if you'd like to keep up with my latest gaming content, including life simulations and more. So I will talk to you all later, and have a great day. Thanks for watching!